Hey guys, hi. Welcome back to my channel. It's me, Steven. I think I've tried to film this video now like 10 times. No joke. Literally like 10 times. I'm trying really hard to portray my thoughts and gather my thoughts. I should probably write notes, but that wouldn't help me either. So this video, I did not want to make a video about this topic because as a cisgendered white guy, I didn't feel like I was educated enough, that I was knowledgeable enough about racism in general. And my point of view and my experience is so limited in terms of racism when it comes to being black or Latino or any other race. My experience and my ability to identify is so narrow that I didn't feel it was appropriate for me to have an opinion that I would just espouse on YouTube. How's that for a word, espouse? It felt I did not want to be like, even pretend to know what it's like to be black or brown in this country. And so I really did not want to make a video about the topic because I think it would have been just ignorant of me to film a video like that. So I wasn't going to do it. And then something happened yesterday that just changed my mind. And my reaction to it changed my mind. So what am I talking about? As per usual, I want to step back a little bit and talk a little bit about my personal history as to how I'm able to look at the topic. I don't have a very good lens when it comes to talking about racism because I haven't experienced it very often. And I couldn't call it racism, but homophobia, but that word in itself, homophobia, is so loosely defined and people use it so often that you really can't say that's whatever. I'm 51 years old. I came out of the closet in 1988, 32 years ago yesterday at noon. I came out in the middle of the beginning, really, of the AIDS crisis and when HIV and AIDS was taking everyone, not just in New York and San Francisco, but it had really traveled across the country and decimated my community. I've made a light mention of it in the past, but you know, there are two men that I know of, one I'm not friends with anymore, but he's still alive, and my friend Marcus, who I've known them since the 90s, the early 90s. They're really the only gay men I think I know that are still alive. Like, I think most of the men I knew are dead. AIDS, HIV has taken a tremendous number of people, a whole generation of gay men, couple, were just mowed down by HIV AIDS. And during the 80s and especially the 90s, gay men, black people, IV drug users, people who were who seemed to be on the fringe of this nation's mind, were disposable. We seemed to be disposable because no one was taking action on HIV/AIDS. Nobody. And Reagan was infamous for not having even mentioned it and it just kept taking people. And my community kept crying out, please, please, begging for help, then demanding help. And when the demanding help wasn't working either, then things like groups like Silence Equals Death were founded. Now, I would encourage you to click away from this video and go Google Silence Equals Death, the movement, the groups. They were just demanding change because we were dying en masse. The only time that action started to be taken with HIV/AIDS and finding a cure or treatment for it was when the rest of white society was being impacted by HIV/AIDS. When it seemed like when cis, straight, white America was being killed by this disease, then people start to take action. Then you start seeing ribbons on people's jackets and blah, blah, blah. In 1998, May of 1998, this is something that will always be in my mind. Bill Clinton was president, and this gentleman who started ACT UP, or AIDS, I think it's ACT UP. I think it was ACT UP. Silence Equals Death is a statement, but it was a group called ACT UP. He started the DC chapter of ACT UP. Well, HIV killed him. AIDS killed him. And he arranged with his friends that they would march his body. They would march his dead body and place it in front of the White House as a protest for our community's life. We were begging and demanding to survive. Now, you know, and homophobia pops up in all sorts of ways. Now, I'm only talking about homophobia because I like to talk about myself and my experience, but I just want to put just a tiny frame in terms of how I can just barely get a glimpse into what it's like to be a black or a brown person in America today. Homophobia has been legal in this country forever. Until recently, until this last week, it was legal to fire someone because they were gay. It has been legal in many states for many, 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 many decades to deny someone credit, to deny someone housing, to deny them employment. It's been legal to deny someone everything that cis white America takes for granted just because we were gay. Whether or not you approve of that, don't even let me know. I don't even want to know about it. The whole fight for same-sex marriage. I lost family members over that topic. There's one aunt, an uncle, and probably a cousin who I really have cut ties with completely because of their stance on same-sex marriage. I was tired of being told by my own family, we love you, you're wonderful, we love you, your friends are amazing, you have the best friends, but you're not our equal. Like, marriage is this and that, sorry, you can't have what we have. You can't have the same rights or responsibilities as we have as heterosexuals because of this book that was written, blah, 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 blah. And I've mentioned it in a recent video, back when my aunt had her son, Michael, my cousin Michael, when he was a few years old, she didn't want me around him. She literally did not want me or my boyfriend at the time, Ronan, to be around Michael. I remember Ronan with Michael on his shoulders running around, Michael giggling, and I can remember looking over at my Aunt Elaine, looking at Ronan and then her son, and I could see the thoughts cross her mind. I've been treated differently because of my identity, who I am. That has softened and changed over the decades. So it's just become, I'm surprised when homophobia pops up. Now let's get back to the topic of the protests and the riots. I can't even really talk about it. Let me just say, I understand. I don't approve of property being broken. I don't approve of cars being burnt or houses being burnt down, CVS's, fireworks being shot at CNN offices. I don't approve of it, but I understand it. I understand it. Why? And if you don't like this video, please go and give it a thumbs down. I don't care. Why do I understand it? Because black and brown people have, before slavery, I'm sure, been begging for their lives. They've been begging for their lives, begging for equality, and to not be murdered in the streets, and lynchings, and it's still going on today. They've protested by getting on their knee. They've protested by stopping traffic on highways. They've protested every single way you could possibly protest, peacefully, legally, with respect demanding respect and equality. And every single time they're told, no, 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 you can protest, just not that way. Not that way. It's inconveniencing me. There was a protest where a road was blocked, and an acquaintance of an acquaintance was upset because I guess someone had to get to a hospital and they were in danger of being whatever, because, and they're being in danger because of this protest. Well, generations and generations of black and brown people have been murdered en masse. And the inconvenience of one person getting to a hospital because there was a protest happening should not take away from the importance of the protest. I understand why this is happening, because no one is listening. And when no one's listening and your lives are at stake, girl, you're going to pick up a bat. You're going to pick up a rock. If this were you, if your children were being murdered in their streets by police, by anybody, you would pick up a rock and you'd pick up a bat. After generations of this, you would pick up a bat. I know it. I would. The people, my people, gays and lesbians in the 90s, they literally laid a dead body of one of their leaders at the foot of the White House in protest. So I understand when a CVS or a Chick-fil-A is broken down and burnt. I get it. I get it. Do I approve of it? No, but I understand it. So if you don't approve of my message here, tough. This is YouTube. You can click away to something else entirely. So what happened? Why am I spending almost 12 minutes getting to the topic of what happened yesterday? Yesterday, I was on the bus to get to, my goal was to walk over to Marshall's, but I didn't want to be tempted to spend money. So I realized the time, and I realized, gee, if I rush to the bus, I can get a bus to a recovery meeting, which has just now come back into being face-to-face. So I ran for the bus stop. I caught my bus, and I'm on the bus, which takes about maybe a half hour to get to where I need to go. And the next stop down, these two young black ladies were trying to get on the bus. They both had baby carriages with little babies in them. And their carriages weren't the little umbrella strollers that you can kind of fold up. They were baby carriages meant for people who literally have to go take buses, like, you know, go down sidewalks and stuff. And they were covered with stuff. The things that moms carry. Blankets and bottles. And so they had stuff in their carriages. It wasn't like they could just collapse them. And they shouldn't be expected to. Well, there were three women in the handicap seats, in the spots where those baby carriages really should have gone. One of them moved. Two of them refused to move. One of them, there was one of them that, because I couldn't keep my mouth shut, this is one of the problems. I have a mouth, and sometimes it just can't get closed. One of them moved. The other one, after I said, hey, you know, could you move to make room for them? She looked up from her phone. She didn't know what was going on. Oh, yes, yes, yes. And she got up and she moved aside. There was this third woman who I'll call Karen, because she looked like Karen. She acted like Karen. She's sitting right there at the last spot that would have allowed these two young ladies to get on the bus. And I said, you know, hey, excuse me, hi, would you mind moving? Could you move? And she looked at me, and there was this, like, kind of look, you know. She didn't suck her teeth at me, but it was that look. And I said, you're literally not going to move. You're totally telling me you're not going to move to let these two people get on. And she went off on the fact that these girls were breaking the rules. They should fold up their carts and blah, 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 blah. And I said, it is summertime in Las Vegas. You're going to expect them to wait on the bus, wait on the sidewalk, rather than you move one seat, the seat right in front of me. You're going to see her, because I included, I shouldn't. I'm going to include a clip. And I'm not a proud person. I'm not proud of this because I said a couple things in this video. But finally, she moved into the seat. I think I may have shamed her into it, and I certainly hope I did. She sat, but she said to me and the women, well, to the girls, that she took pictures of them. She took pictures, I could see. She took pictures of them in their baby carriages. And then she's like, I'm going to call the police. And then security. She said police first, then security. That's when I lost it. And I filmed just a moment of it because I wanted to share it on Facebook, honestly. I lost my mind. I lost my mind. I called her a bigot, racist. I called her ignorant. And I called her beige. Awful. And when I say beige, beige for me is really one of the least complimentary words ever. Beige. The beige of a industrial Berber beige carpet that you would use in a high impact area, like in a warehouse or an office. Something to be walked on. Something that's so common as to be invisible. Gathering dust and dirt from your footprints. Beige to me is that. It's not a compliment, let's just say. So I called her a couple things. Ignorant, racist, beige. And she stayed on her phone, and you may see this in the clip. I really don't even know what the clip really is completely, because I just so I had this conversation, and this is where my own disappointment in myself comes up. So and I'm going to ask you not to defend me here. Oh, Stephen, you're such a nice guy. You're an empath. You're a good guy. Don't cut yourself some slack. Please don't, because really, I had this brief conversation with the young ladies over this Karen's head. I want to spit. I had this brief conversation with these young ladies, and I said, I am horrified to see this happening in front of me. These are things that you see on Facebook. These are things that you see on the news. This is stuff that you don't see in public. And I said, I am horrified at what's happening right here in front of me. And I wanted to make it very clear to the woman I was talking about her, because I have to rub it in her nose. I'm immature that way. And the youngest lady looked at me and shook her head, and in a way that just broke me, she said, "This happens every day." The lens I have to see racism is so small. The ability for me to recognize racism is so small. It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing. So let's get to the point where I disappoint myself, okay? I try to be conscious. I try to be empathetic. I try so hard, and I still don't see things. And it's crazy, because I wanted to make a video about this topic like weeks ago when it was just all burning around us. And I didn't. Do you know why? This is not going to be my proudest moment, okay? So say it with me. I'm ashamed of myself because I'm making this all about me, aren't I? I didn't want to have an opinion here on YouTube about this topic because I was afraid of losing subscribers. What kind of human being am I to stand back, to remain silent for fear of losing subscribers? What kind of person am I? So, that only came to my mind after I got off the bus and I'm at the meeting and we're talking about recovery, and it kind of washed over me this awareness that I, as a white guy, practice this ignorance, seemingly willful. It doesn't affect me, and I really don't see it. So I would just let it wash around me like a rock in a river, which doesn't mean rocks are ignorant, but, you know, sometimes they move. Sometimes they roll with the current. I like that. I like that. It's so upsetting to think that I've been so ignorant and so blind. Blind. Very much like when ACT UP, again, that's the name of the group, when ACT UP, the phrase silence equals death. If you remain silent, if you remain ignorant of us dying in front of you, if you remain silent, it's going to equal death for us. It's killing us. Your silence, your ability to let this happen around you is killing my community. So, for me today, Black Lives Matter equals silence equals death to me in terms of how I feel right now. So this video clearly isn't going to change anybody's mind. So if you're even still watching this and you don't agree with me, good for you. Really good for you. I'm pleased. But I have to remain vigilant and aware, not just of my own needs, but of the people around me. You know, one of the things that came to my mind, and this video is just going to be forever. One of the things that crossed my mind is after I started thinking about this topic and how difficult it is for me sometimes to see racism when it's even right in front of me. Where I've lived in some neighborhoods that were really low income, you know, and primarily black. I've lived all over the place. And I'm thinking, like, the area of Dorchester I used to live in. I used to live in a very prestigious little teeny neighborhood in Dorchester in the Ashmont area, which is primarily black. It's black and low income. Try and find a grocery store. This is as simple as racism is for me sometimes now. Try and find a grocery store, a good grocery store in these areas. Try and find a good grocery store in neighborhoods that are primarily black. This is just, I'm just see if I'm right. See if I'm wrong. Tell me I'm wrong. See if there's even just a place to go buy fresh vegetables. In some of the places I've lived where I was definitely the only white guy on the bus, the only place you could buy real groceries, like food, like real fruit and vegetables, was a convenience store. And frequently that stuff's really not the, you know, the coolest and freshest or most affordable. There's a lot of McDonald's, but not a lot of fresh food, you know. So I just think racism is not just like police killing people in the street. It's not just these white women on buses trying to block the everyday actions of just a nice girl trying to push her baby in a baby carriage. Racism, I think, just is so deep, and it affects just education, just the buying groceries, you know, schools. It's just so... And that I'm 51 years old, and these things are just coming to the surface of my mind. It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing that I've been so ignorant for so long. So, I'm not encouraging vigilantism, if that's the proper way to say it. But I can no longer... And I've never been one to let things slide. If you make a racist joke, if you make a joke about women, if you make a joke about fat people, if you make a joke about people in addiction, if you post a video about some drunk guy falling down, because there was a time when this was all over Facebook, videos of like drunk people hurting themselves because they were just incapable of like walking because they were so drunk, and people were laughing, ha ha ha. You make a joke at anybody's expense, and I'm gonna say a couple of things, and then I'm probably never gonna talk to you again. That's always been the case. That's always been me. My super skill, I have a couple superhero skills. One of my superhero skills is to be angry at the behalf of other people, defensive on the behalf of other people. But still, even with that, racism just seemed to be such a slippery, evil little thing. And it bewilders me that I've become this old, and it's taken such a crisis in this country to open my eyes. So I'm going to end in just a moment because this is now 25 minutes long. There is a little line. There's something in the book that I read. It's not the Bible. I don't read the Bible, but this book has saved my life. But there's a line in there, and I'm going to just sort of try to get close to it. I don't know it verbatim, but it says basically that justified anger is not for us, me, my people. Recovery. Justified anger is best left to those who are better able to handle it. I am not the person who's able to handle justifiable anger because I don't know how to handle it. I don't know what to do with it. And all I want to do is use it as a weapon. So my goal is to be mindful, be vigilant, and be aware for anybody, but particularly my black and brown friends, family, strangers, people. And speak up when I see something and recognize when my own actions might be less helpful. So that's my goal, and to be less like a vigilante and to use my justifiable anger as a weapon. Now, at the end of this, when I finally stop talking, I'm going to include, I think, am I going to, yeah, I might as well. It's because I've already shamed myself, I think, in this video. I'm going to include at the very end of this one short, teeny clip of me reacting on that bus. And now I'm not proud of this video because the woman who I was talking about was sitting right in front of me. She was sitting right in front of me. And my goal when I was speaking was to hurt her. Not physically, but I really wanted to shame her. I wanted to rub it in her nose that she's being a rotten person. I wanted to rub it in her nose, and I was trying really hard. And somehow I think I was successful a little teeny bit. I'm not proud of that. It did feel really good though. So I'm going to include that at the end of this video. I'm going to reiterate this one thing. I'm going to remind you in the comment section. I don't want to be reminded, oh, Stephen, you're such a good person. You're such an empathetic person. I do what I can when I can. But in these cases, and the whole reason I'm filming this video is because I have actively remained ignorant. And I refuse to continue to be ignorant. Boy, I could have made this video a lot shorter if I just said that, right? All right, so I think I'm going to post this. Again, I've tried to film this like 10 times. I mean, yeah, and I've lost it. I've lost it each time. So I think I'm going to post this, and if you're still watching this, you probably agree with me. But if you don't, oh well, make your own video, right? All right. I'll talk to you later. I love you guys. Stay safe, okay? Fly safe. Bye. I've just run into my first real-life Karen on the bus. She just almost flat out refused to move. These two young ladies with baby carriages. And then had the nerve to say something like, speak English. And then got on her phone like she's some sort of like, oh, we're gonna call the police? You to call the police? Oh, it's not kind of you to do this, but it's just ridiculous. Oh my God, guys. I'm like shaking. I'm so mad. There's a woman sitting right in front of me. I'm not taking my mask off. There's a woman sitting right in front of me who is causing a scene, and I'm making it worse by talking out loud. But like, there's these two young black women with baby carriages. It's super hot in the summer in Vegas, and she's making it difficult. She's literally gonna call security, like the bus security, on two women with baby carriages. She's horrifying. She is everything that's wrong with this country, embodied in one beige lump. I'm mad. I'm mad. I'm mad. She's right here. She's sitting right here. I am beyond furious that you see this stuff in person, in reality, out in public. It used to be hidden, racism. Now, no problem being a racist on a bus in front of other people. No problem. I'm horrified.